Hello, our name is GGWP and this is our video project for Engineering 6 class. My name is Yesuunee Erdenebat.
My name is Nicole Osorio.
My name is Wongso. We are going to explain the details about our project.
My part for the video project was to create the user interface and the load button and the resizing the voice playback screen. First, run the program. It will show our GUI. There is the load button, which will then show the name, resolution, frame rate, and duration. And I also put a color situation bar. There is red, green, blue, and then mute button. And this over here would be a frame rate conversion. And of course, there's always going to be a play and stop button. And this is step forward button, and this is step backward button. And there is a scroll bar. And now, if we look at the load button, first I used UI get file to command. It's a command that will get me the file name and path name. And then, of course, thinking that the user might forget to load a video file, I used if statement to indicate that the user must press a valid video file. And then I used dircat function to concatenate path name, file name in order for the video reader to read the video. And then I used GUI data to update the GUI. And to actually show the data like frame rate and duration, I used num to stir to actually turn it into a string so that it would actually show on GUI. And then when we load the video, it has to first show a first frame. First set the video to 1 and then video frame to 1 and then use the read function to read the first frame.
So I will be talking about the play button, which is also the pause button. Basically, I set the user data to stop, which if you go in the video opening function, the handle is play user data set to stop. So when you go click play, this first if statement is gonna work, and then the string, once you press play, the play button becomes pause, and then the current frame starts at the first frame. And then if you press the play button again, it will set to pause, like as described over here. And then once the video starts playing, and then you press pause, it will do clear sound to make sure that the sound doesn't also play, because I also did the sound playback. And then here is just some of the variables that we had to load, which was already in the load function. These are just some audio information. And then I also have to get the number of frames using the handles. And then this is the loop that works while the video is playing. So it has to be while the user data is set to play and the current frame is less than or equal to the number of frames, this will all happen. There's a bunch of special features, like the slider and the sound will start playing. And here's another special feature, FPS. And this one basically just says that it will show the image frame of the video, and draw now will update the axes. And then this will update the current frame while the pause button is pressed. If the frame is at the last frame, it shouldn't do anything. It should just be at the same frame or same sound. Here, when the current frame is equal to the last number of frames, then the user data will set to stop, and the play button, instead of pause, it will show play. Then for stop, it's basically just we clear the sound because we don't want to hear the sound. The current frame will be set to the very first frame. The current sound sample is also the first one, and it will show the very first frame of the video. And then for step backward, it's kind of like the forward button, but instead it will update the current frame and subtract the 1 from it. But if you are at the first frame, nothing should happen. Then here's just forward. A lot of them, it's basically if this button is pressed, the play button will go to pause, and then the current frame will be updated by 1. Here I also worked on the mute button, which basically, if you press the mute button, the string will set to unmute. And then if you press a mute button again, the string will go to mute. But it will still save the current sample and play from there. And so this is the video. If you press play, pause, you can step forward, you can step backward, and if you press play, you can mute and then unmute the button. Then when you press stop, it goes to the very beginning and the sound stops playing.
So my part is the slider. In this program, there's 3 important key steps. 1 is retrieving the value of the slider. 2 is finding which frame to be played back. And also updating the handle's current frame with a specific value. We are finding the value for the slider. And then we are finding the total number of frames in the video. And then here, we are finding the specific value of the frame by multiplying the slider value, which is a number between 0 to 1, by the number of frames. And then we use the round function so that we get a round number. Then we are assigning the value of the current frame with the number of the frame that we found from here. For example, if I click pause and then I move it here, I will find the value of the slider, which is from 0 to 1. It will be a decimal number, and I will multiply by the total number of frames in the whole video to find the specific frame right here. And when we click the play button, it will update the current frame value to this value in the slider function. That's when we play it. It will continue from here. For the saturation and color correction, the program is under play button. And here is my program. There are 5 key steps. 1, retrieving the slider, value of red, green, and blue. You can see it from this section. The second one is retrieving each RGB values of the current frame. It's here. And then finding the range of the saturation control. It's this one. And then finding the updated RGB values. It's here. And assigning the updated RGB values to a frame to be displayed. It's here. Retrieving these values is giving us the number between 0 to 1. Here, it will give you the value from 0 to 255, which is the amount of red, the amount of green, the amount of blue in this frame. Here, you can see if I move it and move the color saturation control, it will change the amount of green, the amount of red, and the amount of blue in the picture. Lastly, I'm attempted to do the frame rate conversion. This is an additional effect that I tried to accomplish. This program is under the play button, and first, this one is trying to get the options from the pop-up menu, and then this will get the index using a switch case function. I am assigning whichever the value that the user chose with interval frame. So if it's 30 frames per second, interval frame is 1, and so on. However, in this one, the interval frame is 2. So essentially, when there is 30 frames, the program will only take 15 frames. However, to make it look smoother, I make every frame double. For the case of 20 frames per second and 24 frames per second to 30 frames per second, these two will have more frame than the original one, which makes the video move slower. The video is played under the initial condition, about 30 frames per second. And then if I use this one, it will be slower. And then this one, even slower.